Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am always on the lookout to try to find some kind of tool that will step up my game when it comes to being able to test batteries and inverters. So today we're going to be checking out this oscilloscope multimeter from iMars. Okay, so when you open it up, on one side you will see all your cables and connections, your probes, and a packet with a user's guide, a product listing, a QR code for the user's manual, and then a full-size user's manual. And then inside this nice cloth bag, or it might be a nylon bag, you have the multimeter. All right, it is way too much information to go over, so I'm just going to give you a quick view of all of the options and stats that this oscilloscope multimeter can do. All right, so the first thing I noticed about this multimeter is it is a lot bigger in size than any other multimeter or the oscilloscope that I use. Even though the screen is not that big, but it just has a lot of buttons and options. For comparison, here is one of the multimeters I like to use from Tesman. So you can just tell the size is quite big. And I'm not even going to lie to you about saying I know how to use this. I have never used anything like this before when it comes to an all-in-one unit. It has these inputs right here for channel 1, channel 2, and it looks like gen out. And then it has more probe inputs at the bottom. So I am going to be messing with this thing for a couple of days, and I will get back with you once I figure out how to use this, and I will have a setup to kind of demonstrate what all I know. All right, now that I've had time to get used to this voltmeter / oscilloscope, I went ahead and set up some examples of what I'm going to use this for. Now, this thing has a ton of features, and I'm honestly not about to try to go through all of them. I'm going to go through the ones that I'm going to use for my personal situations, and I hope that can help you. So let's go ahead and see example number 1. I'm going to want to check out this Blue Eddy power station. First, I want to check the AC voltage to make sure it's 120 volts. That there's nothing wrong with the AC output. I want to check the hertz to make sure it's 60. I want to check to make sure that it's a pure sine wave from the AC. And I do want to check the DC output to make sure that it is regulated at around 13 volts as well. And I can do all of that with this one unit. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to go ahead and check the voltages of the AC and the DC side. So let's go ahead and turn this on. And when you first turn it on, it automatically is set for DC voltage. And up here, it tells you exactly where to plug in your probes. So that's kind of a nice little feature. So we're going to go ahead and plug it into the black and red on this side, just like it says up here. And we're going to check the DC voltage out of this plug. And look at that, it's giving us 13.47 volts. So that plug is working perfect. So next I want to check the AC voltage. So I just switch it from DC to AC by pressing F2 on the screen. And now it's ready for AC voltage. So let's go ahead and plug these in. And if it's at a dangerous level, it will beep like that to kind of warn you that you're working with high voltage. And you can see that the voltage is 118.1, so that works perfect. And while I'm at it, I'm also make sure that it is 60 hertz, so I can press this. And it is right at 59.99 hertz. All right, now the next thing I want to check is to make sure that it is pure sine wave. So I'll go ahead and unplug these ports from here. And I'm going to be using this wire right here. I don't really know the name of these. I do know that I need this to check the waveform. And I'm going to use channel 1, so it's the one right up here. And it does say channel 1 right there. And with this, I'm going to go ahead and clamp this part onto my negative probe. And this little pointer, I'm going to put it right inside here on my positive. So it's just like that. And now I can plug these into my AC outlet and see the waveform. But let's go ahead and change it to channel 1 over here. And that changes it to the oscilloscope. So we'll just go ahead and put these in. and you'll see that the oscilloscope just looks like a line that's kind of wavering. You'll want to click on the auto button, which is right down here, and that will auto adjust the waveform so you can see it a lot better. And you can see here that it is a nice pure sine wave. So the next thing I want to check for my example 2 is to make sure that this resistor works. Maybe you dropped it on the ground or just whatever, but you can check these resistors with this multimeter right here using the resistance setting. So let's go ahead and set this to resistance, and it will be in this button right here. And that will be the first section, so you don't have to change anything. And it says resistance right up there, and it does tell you what ports to plug it into. So again, we'll go ahead and plug these in. And what's nice about this is it does have a stand in the back, so you don't have to constantly hold it or worry about it falling over. All right, and let's check our 10 ohm resistor right here and see what it says. Oh, look at that. And it auto adjusts from milliohms to ohms, and it says 10 exactly. So we know that our resistor is in great shape. All right, the next example I have here is I have a 12-volt battery wired up to 3 separate inverters. They're all off-grid inverters, as you can tell. And my situation is I want to find out which one I should use for my sensitive equipment that is as close to 120 volts as possible coming out of the AC. The first thing I want to do is I want to check with my oscilloscope to make sure that they're all pure sine wave. So let's go ahead and check that. First, we'll check this 500 watt pure sine wave inverter right here. So let's go ahead and plug this in. I've already got my oscilloscope set up, and you can see that it is a pure sine wave, but there looks like there's a lot of static in the yellow. And honestly, I don't know what quite that is, but that kind of tells me that this is a dirty sine wave or something. Something's up with this, and I would not want to use this with my sensitive equipment. All right, secondly, let's go ahead and try out this Tyco run. It's a 1000 watt inverter, and it does say pure sine wave on there as well. So let's go ahead and check that. All right, that one looks much better right there. That is what a sine wave should look like when you're trying to find a pure sine wave, and that center line doesn't look like it has any static or anything, so nothing to concern me about, and so I feel pretty confident about this. But let's go ahead and check the voltage just to see how close to 120 volts it is. Oh, look at that, and our AC voltage is 119.5. Man, this one looks like it's gonna be the winner of this test. But let's go ahead and check this this Krieger right here to see if it can also be a contender. And that voltage is 117.6, which isn't terrible, but the 119.5 is a lot better. But let's go ahead and check the sine wave anyway. Yeah, you can definitely see that that is not a pure sine wave. It is a, I don't even think it's a modified sine wave because it doesn't have steps. I think that's just a square wave. And you can zoom in and out by hitting the arrows. So if you wanted to kind of zoom in and out of that wave, you could. But you can easily see that it is not, it goes down, across, up, and then up, across, and down. So definitely not a pure sine wave. So just by doing those simple tests against these inverters, I would definitely know which one I wanted to use. So if you have any questions about the iMars multimeter / oscilloscope, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll have a link to this item and everything else I use in my description, just in case you want to look further into it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day. Bye-bye.